At the will reading, the lawyer looked straight at me, then skipped my son's name entirely. The December rain drummed against the windows of Henderson and Associates Law Office in downtown Chicago as I sat in the burgundy leather chair, my weathered hands gripping the armrests while trying to process what had just happened. At 72 years old, after spending 45 years as a Chicago police officer walking the toughest beats on the South Side, I thought I had seen everything life could throw at me, but nothing had prepared me for this moment when my deceased brother's lawyer looked directly at me and completely bypassed my son Michael's name while reading the will that would change our family forever. My son Michael sat beside me in his perfectly pressed navy suit, his manicured fingers drumming impatiently on his briefcase as he checked his expensive watch for the third time in 10 minutes, clearly annoyed that this legal proceeding was taking longer than he had anticipated and cutting into his busy schedule as a senior partner at one of Chicago's most prestigious law firms specializing in corporate mergers and acquisitions. If this story is resonating with you, please take a moment to comment below and let us know where you're watching from. Your engagement really helps us reach more families who are going through similar situations. Please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel because we genuinely help families navigate these difficult circumstances, and your support allows us to continue sharing these important stories. The reason we were sitting in this oak-paneled office on this gray winter morning was the recent death of my older brother Robert, who had passed away suddenly from a heart attack at the age of 75 while working in his auto repair shop that he had owned and operated for nearly 50 years in the same working-class neighborhood where we had both grown up during the challenging decades of the 1950s and 1960s. Robert had never married, never had children of his own, and had dedicated his entire adult life to building a successful business that employed dozens of local residents and provided honest, reliable automotive services to generations of families in our community. Despite his lack of formal education beyond high school, Robert had possessed an intuitive understanding of engines and mechanical systems that had earned him a reputation as one of the most skilled and trustworthy mechanics in the entire city. Throughout my police career, Robert and I had maintained a close relationship despite our different paths in life. While I had chosen to serve the community through law enforcement, Robert had chosen to serve through his business, but we both shared the same fundamental values about hard work, integrity, and helping people in need that our parents had instilled in us during our childhood in a modest two-bedroom apartment above a corner grocery store. Robert had been particularly close to my son Michael during Michael's childhood and teenage years, often taking him to the shop on weekends and teaching him basic mechanical skills while sharing stories about our family's history and the importance of staying connected to your roots regardless of how successful you might become in your professional life. These Saturday morning visits to Uncle Robert's shop had been some of Michael's favorite childhood memories, and Robert had been incredibly proud when Michael graduated from law school and began his successful legal career. However, as Michael's career advanced and his income increased dramatically, I had noticed a growing distance between him and his uncle, with fewer visits to the shop and less time spent with the extended family during holidays and special occasions. Michael seemed to have adopted the attitude that his education and professional success had elevated him above his working-class origins, and he began making subtle comments about Uncle Robert's simple lifestyle and his decision to remain in the old neighborhood instead of moving to a more affluent area. This shift in Michael's attitude had deeply hurt Robert, though he rarely complained about it directly to me. Instead, he would make occasional remarks about how success could sometimes change people in ways that weren't always positive, and he expressed concern that Michael was losing touch with the values and humility that had been central to our family's identity for generations. The tension between Michael and Robert had reached a breaking point about 2 years ago during a family gathering when Michael made some particularly condescending comments about Robert's business and suggested that he should consider selling the shop and retiring to enjoy a more comfortable lifestyle. Robert had responded with quiet dignity, explaining that his work gave him purpose and allowed him to contribute meaningfully to his community, but I could see that Michael's attitude had wounded him deeply. After that incident, Robert began making subtle changes to his estate planning, though he never discussed these decisions with me directly. He started working with the lawyer who was now reading his will, updating various documents and making arrangements that he kept private from the rest of the family. When I asked him about these legal consultations, Robert would simply say that he wanted to make sure his affairs were properly organized and that his wishes would be clearly understood and properly executed after his death. Michael, meanwhile, had assumed that as Robert's only nephew and closest male relative, he would be the primary beneficiary of his uncle's estate, which included not only the successful auto repair business but also several pieces of valuable real estate that Robert had acquired over the years. Michael had even begun making preliminary plans about how he might liquidate these assets and invest the proceeds in more sophisticated financial instruments that would provide better long-term returns. The lawyer, Mr. Henderson, was a distinguished gentleman in his 60s who had been handling Robert's legal affairs for more than 20 years and had developed a deep respect for my brother's character and business acumen. As he began reading the will, he explained that Robert had been very specific about his intentions and had left detailed instructions about how he wanted his estate to be distributed among various beneficiaries. The first portion of the will dealt with smaller bequests to longtime employees of the auto repair shop, each of whom received generous financial gifts that reflected Robert's appreciation for their years of loyal service and their contributions to the success of the business. Several neighbors and community organizations also received meaningful donations that demonstrated Robert's commitment to supporting the neighborhood that had been his home for his entire adult life. As Mr. Henderson continued reading, I noticed that Michael was becoming increasingly impatient, clearly waiting for his name to be mentioned in connection with the major assets of the estate. He shifted in his chair and cleared his throat several times, obviously expecting that the lawyer would soon announce his inheritance of the business and properties that he had been counting on receiving. However, when Mr. Henderson reached the section dealing with the most significant bequests, he looked directly at me and announced that Robert had left the auto repair business, along with all of its equipment, inventory, and customer relationships, to 3 of his most senior employees who had worked with him for more than 15 years each and who understood both the technical and community aspects of the operation. The real estate properties, including the building that housed the shop and 2 rental properties that Robert had purchased and renovated over the years, were being donated to a local nonprofit organization that provided job training and employment opportunities for young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, particularly those interested in learning automotive repair and other skilled trades. Michael's face grew red with anger and disbelief as the lawyer continued reading, but the most shocking revelation came when Mr. Henderson announced that Robert had established a substantial scholarship fund in my name, designating me as the administrator responsible for selecting recipients who demonstrated both academic merit and a commitment to serving their communities, regardless of their chosen field of study or career path. The scholarship fund was endowed with the majority of Robert's liquid assets, including his substantial savings account, investment portfolio, and life insurance proceeds, creating an educational resource that would provide opportunities for deserving young people for many generations to come. The fund's mission statement, which Robert had written personally, emphasized the importance of education that develops both professional competence and moral character, preparing students to contribute positively to their communities rather than simply pursuing personal wealth or status. As Mr. Henderson finished reading the will, Michael stood up abruptly and demanded to know why his name had not been mentioned in connection with any significant inheritance. His voice was loud and accusatory as he insisted that there must be some mistake in the documentation, and he threatened to contest the will on the grounds that Robert must have been mentally incompetent when he made these decisions about the distribution of his estate. Mr. Henderson calmly responded that Robert had been entirely competent and had specifically anticipated that some family members might question his decisions, which was why he had included a sealed letter addressed to Michael that explained his reasoning and provided guidance about how Michael might repair the damage that had been done to their relationship during the final years of Robert's life. The letter, written in Robert's distinctive handwriting, began with an expression of love and concern for Michael, acknowledging his professional achievements and expressing pride in his success as a lawyer. However, Robert went on to explain that Michael's increasing arrogance and condescension toward family members who had chosen different paths in life had demonstrated a troubling lack of the humility and compassion that should accompany genuine success. Robert wrote that he had hoped Michael would eventually recognize the value of remaining connected to his roots and maintaining respect for people whose contributions to society might be different from but equally important as his own professional accomplishments. The letter explained that Robert's estate planning decisions were intended not as punishment but as encouragement for Michael to reconsider his priorities and rediscover the family values that had been overshadowed by his pursuit of wealth and status. The letter concluded with an invitation for Michael to prove that he had learned from this experience by volunteering his legal expertise to help the scholarship fund and the nonprofit organization that would be receiving Robert's properties. Robert suggested that by using his professional skills to support these charitable efforts, Michael could demonstrate that his success had not come at the cost of his fundamental humanity and his commitment to helping others. Michael's initial reaction was explosive anger and wounded pride, and he stormed out of the lawyer's office declaring his intention to hire his own legal team to challenge the will and recover what he considered to be his rightful inheritance. For several weeks, he refused to speak with me or acknowledge the wisdom behind Robert's decisions, instead focusing his energy on finding legal grounds to overturn his uncle's clearly expressed wishes. However, as time passed and Michael's legal research revealed that Robert's will had been carefully crafted to withstand any potential challenges, he began to calm down and reflect more thoughtfully on the message that his uncle had been trying to communicate through these estate planning decisions. The process of examining his own behavior and attitudes during the final years of Robert's life forced Michael to confront some uncomfortable truths about how his success had changed his character. 3 months after the will reading, Michael contacted Mr. Henderson and inquired about the possibility of volunteering his services to help establish the legal framework for the scholarship fund and assist with the property transfer to the nonprofit organization. This decision marked the beginning of a gradual transformation in Michael's perspective on success, family relationships, and his responsibilities to his community. Working with the scholarship fund introduced Michael to deserving young people whose circumstances and challenges reminded him of his own family's humble origins and the struggles that his father and uncle had overcome to build meaningful lives despite limited formal education and economic resources. These interactions helped Michael rediscover the empathy and respect for others that had been central to his character before his professional success had begun to create distance between him and his roots. Over the course of the first year of administering the scholarship fund, Michael and I developed a closer relationship than we had enjoyed since his childhood, as we worked together to evaluate applications and make decisions about award recipients. Our conversations during this process gave me opportunities to share stories about Robert's generosity and wisdom that Michael had never heard, helping him understand the depth of character that had motivated his uncle's lifetime of service to others. One of the most meaningful aspects of Michael's involvement with the scholarship fund was his discovery that several of the recipients were children and grandchildren of people who had been helped by Robert's auto repair shop during times of financial difficulty, when Robert had provided free or reduced-cost services to families who couldn't afford necessary car repairs. These connections illustrated the long-term impact of Robert's quiet generosity and demonstrated how acts of kindness could create ripple effects that benefited entire communities across multiple generations. As Michael became more involved in the day-to-day operations of both the scholarship fund and the nonprofit organization, he began to appreciate the complexity and importance of the work being done by people whose contributions to society might not be as visible or financially rewarded as his own legal practice. He started spending time at the auto repair shop, which continued to operate under the ownership of Robert's former employees, and he developed relationships with the young people who were learning skilled trades through the nonprofit's job training programs. These experiences gradually transformed Michael's understanding of success and achievement, helping him recognize that true accomplishment should be measured not only by personal wealth and professional recognition, but also by positive impact on others and contributions to the common good. He began incorporating pro bono work into his legal practice, focusing particularly on cases that involved helping small businesses and community organizations navigate complex legal challenges. 2 years after Robert's death, Michael established his own charitable foundation focused on providing legal services and support to nonprofit organizations serving disadvantaged communities. He used his professional network and expertise to create a sustainable model for delivering high-quality legal assistance to groups that might not otherwise have access to such resources, effectively multiplying the impact of his individual efforts through collaboration with other professionals who shared similar values. The transformation in Michael's character and priorities also improved our father-son relationship significantly, as he began to show genuine interest in my experiences as a police officer and my perspective on community service and social responsibility. Our conversations became more meaningful and substantive, moving beyond superficial discussions of career achievements to deeper explorations of purpose, legacy, and the importance of maintaining connections with family and community. 3 years after the will reading, Michael invited me to join him at the annual awards ceremony for the scholarship fund, where we had the opportunity to meet with recipients and hear their stories about how Robert's generosity had created educational opportunities that would change the trajectory of their lives. Many of the students spoke eloquently about their plans to use their education to address challenges in their own communities, carrying forward the spirit of service that had motivated Robert's lifetime of quiet generosity. During his remarks at the ceremony, Michael publicly acknowledged that receiving no inheritance from his uncle's will had been the most valuable gift Robert could have given him, because it had forced him to examine his own values and priorities in ways that had ultimately made him a better person, lawyer, and member of his community. He credited Robert's wisdom with helping him rediscover the importance of humility, service, and maintaining strong relationships with family and neighbors. The scholarship fund that Robert established has now provided educational opportunities for more than 100 students, many of whom have gone on to successful careers in fields ranging from medicine and education to skilled trades and social work. The nonprofit organization that received Robert's properties has expanded its job training programs and now operates multiple locations throughout the city, providing pathways to economic stability for hundreds of young people who might otherwise have limited opportunities for advancement. Michael's volunteer work with these organizations has become one of the most fulfilling aspects of his life, and he frequently says that his uncle's decision to exclude him from the traditional inheritance was actually the greatest act of love and wisdom that anyone had ever shown him. The process of earning his place in Robert's legacy through service, rather than simply receiving it through family relationship, has given Michael a deeper appreciation for the values and character traits that truly matter in life. Today, 5 years after that December morning when the lawyer skipped Michael's name entirely, our family has been strengthened by the lessons that Robert taught us through his final act of generosity and wisdom. The auto repair shop continues to serve the community under the ownership of Robert's former employees, who have maintained the standards of quality and integrity that he established during his 50 years in business. The scholarship fund has become a permanent memorial to Robert's belief in the power of education to transform lives and strengthen communities, while the nonprofit organization continues to expand its programs and impact under Michael's ongoing legal guidance and support. Most importantly, Michael has rediscovered the values and character traits that our family had always treasured, proving that Robert's faith in his potential for growth and redemption was entirely justified. Robert's decision to use his estate as a tool for teaching rather than simply transferring wealth has created a legacy that extends far beyond any traditional inheritance could have achieved. His story has become a powerful reminder within our extended family and circle of friends that true wealth consists not in what we accumulate for ourselves, but in what we contribute to the lives of others and the communities we serve. The letter that explained Robert's reasoning has become a treasured family document that continues to guide our decisions about success, generosity, and the importance of remaining connected to our values regardless of our professional achievements or financial circumstances. His words remind us that the greatest gift we can give to those we love is not material wealth but rather the wisdom and character development that will enable them to live meaningful and fulfilling lives. If this story has touched your heart and made you reflect on your own family relationships, we would love to hear from you in the comments below. Please let us know where you are watching from and share your thoughts about how families can navigate difficult situations while maintaining love and respect for one another. Your engagement helps us continue sharing these powerful stories of redemption and growth. When you like this video and subscribe to our channel, you are not only supporting our work but also joining a community of people who believe in the power of forgiveness, personal growth, and the importance of staying true to our fundamental values even when life presents us with challenging circumstances. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being part of our extended family of viewers who find hope and inspiration in these stories of human resilience and transformation. Remember that every family faces difficult moments that test relationships and reveal character, but these challenges also provide opportunities for growth, healing, and deeper understanding of what really matters in life. By sharing these stories and engaging with our community, you help create a space where families can find encouragement and practical wisdom for navigating their own journeys toward stronger, more meaningful relationships built on mutual respect and genuine love.